Okay, it looks like we are live. I'm going to make sure we can set everything up properly. Okay, you should be able to see the full screen PowerPoint, and you should be able to see me in the corner. I'm hoping that's exactly what you guys see. And then now it should just be me. Perfect. So I'm excited for this today. Biggest reason is this topic, just overall in pediatric health and family wellness, is very important to me. My name's Dr. Ken. I'm one of the 3 doctors over at Whole Family Chiropractic in St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm excited. I've been prepping for this for about a week, and I have my notes in front of me because there are specific points, specific information that I don't want to miss. I think when it comes to health, when it comes to wellness, there's, and especially in ear infections, because that's what this webinar is, there's stuff I don't want you guys to miss, because overall today and during this isn't going to be an hour-long webinar by any means, but I want to give you guys answers, and I want those answers to give you guys, you parents, siblings, whoever's watching this, to be able to look at ear infections or overall health with a different lens, and then feel empowered to make a healthcare decision that isn't just going with the common route people are going, but you're making a decision because you want to, because you have the answers, you have the information, and you know that that decision is going to get you the results you want with you or your child or your family. So that's what I want to give you today, and ultimately, I want to get you results. Whether that's with us, whether that's with a clinic near you. I've always wanted to say that, something like that. But ultimately, that's what we want to do. So today's webinar is obviously on ear infections, and it's in collaboration with the National Family Wellness Alliance. So the National Family Wellness Alliance is a group of collective doctors across the nation who are fiercely committed to changing what's common today, which is sickness, and especially in kids, it's kid sickness, and that's the new normal. And we're fiercely committed to changing that. So that's why we partner with the National Family Wellness Alliance. So parents, if you're watching this, most likely you're watching it for a reason, and it's that ear infections have been dominating either you when you were a kid or your kids now growing up. And I want to say, as a parent, I have a 3-year-old, his name's Brantley, I have a 1.5-year-old, his name's Bryson, and I have one on the way due in the end of July. But as a parent, I want to say, first and foremost, I understand that it can be really hard seeing your kids suffer, especially if it's chronic or recurring. I understand that continued pediatrician visits sucks, and you don't want that. That multiple rounds of antibiotics, you're sick of that, and you're sick of the temporary relief or no relief at all. You're sick of maybe the idea of tossing around, should we do tubes or not? I get it, right? Like, if the kid's tugging at his ear or her ear, sorry, I have boys, so, and I'm pretty sure the third is another boy, but anywho, don't know that yet. That's just my dad sense tingling. But if they're tugging at their ear and they can't sleep, the parents aren't sleeping, and it's good for no one. Or people are here because they simply want a more natural approach, right? You want answers, and you want hope and a better future for you, your child, and your family. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I wanted to actually open this with my 3-year-old right here. Wasn't able to do that. He's at the grandparents right now, but we were having a dinner conversation, and actually, a week ago when I was preparing for this webinar, he ironically got his first ear infection, and I thought that was crazy. And I wanted to share that. I wanted you to hear from him. But when I asked him again, he's 3, and this was at the dinner table, and I didn't prompt him. My wife didn't prompt him, anything like that. But I asked, "Hey, buddy, tell me about what happened with your ear last week." And he said it really hurt. My ear really hurt, and we can tell, right? As parents, we hate that, and we we feel at loss when there's nothing we feel like we can do. And I asked, how did we help you? How did Daddy help you? And he said, adjustments. And I was like, yeah, that's right, we got you adjusted. And I said, what do adjustments do for you? And this was the best answer ever. He goes, I guess I could, by the way, make this, since I'm not there yet. Sorry if you were trying to look at the little me in the corner. But when I asked him, what do adjustments do for you? He answered it, beautifully. And he said, adjustments heal my body. And I didn't teach him to say that. My wife didn't teach him to say that. And he just did, and he's 3. And if a 3-year-old can say that and understand it, because he knows if he doesn't feel good, he wants to jump onto that chiropractic table, get adjusted, and ultimately feel better because his body's working better. We're going to talk about all that in a little bit, but again, now I'm going to put myself back in the corner. That sounds funny, but either way, I'm going to do it. There I go. And we're going to get into ear infections here. So a big thing that we're going to cover today is that common is not normal. Common versus normal, right? Because today's new normal is sick kids. It's multiple ear infections all the time, and that's just what we have to do with it. Here are some pretty crazy stats that I want this to sink in. Over 80% of children have at least one ear infection by the time they're 3 years old. And then ear infections account for about 30 million visits to the pediatrician each year. The most common reasons children visit the pediatrician. Here's the thing, though. Kids can't drive themselves, right? So out of these 30 million visits, that's also 30 million times that if the parents are working, they probably have to take off work to go do. And then that's not fun either. And we get it. And I want to give you guys answers that these statistics, they don't have to be like this. They truly don't. Right? So common versus normal. Just because it's common doesn't mean it's normal. In fact, normal is, one of our colleagues and a dear friend said, normal is brilliant. Right? Like if you're walking around home rather quickly because you're late for something, because you have, 2, 3 kids, and you stub your toe or shin and it busts open. Sorry for the graphic, but if that happens, you don't have to think about it, and your body heals itself, right? Like you don't have to sit there and think, hey, collagen fibers, can you please form white blood cells, rush to the area in case there's any bacteria or any germs or whatever, so you can get rid of that. It just happens. Normal is brilliant. And actually, a good example I used with a practice member in the office the other day was that it's not by chance that my fingers grew to the length they did in relation to my palm size, my arm size, my body size. It's not weird that you watching this have 2 holes in your skull where eyes sit instead of ears or a nose, right? Like, normal is brilliant. And our bodies are intelligently designed to handle a lot and be very, very resilient, right? There's just probably something blocking that. So, in terms of these stats right here that you see, the most common thing we do when a kid has an ear infection or they're tugging at their ear or anything like that, or we see fluid in there and they're saying, Mom, Dad, my ear hurts, what's the first thing we do? You can't answer. But anyway, if I polled you, you'd say, well, we go to the pediatrician, and then we probably get antibiotics. Here's something I want to talk about quick. So antibiotics, and then a lot of you will say they're not even working all the time, right? So we get multiple rounds before we even get tubes, but either way, something's not working. Or that doctor, the pediatrician, is going to say something along the lines of, the reason that the ear infection is here is because of the orientation of the ear hole. I'm just going to call it for sake of today, right? Because as they develop, it starts horizontal and then it goes more diagonal like that, so gravity pulls and drains down, so the fluid drains. That's not true. If that was true, wouldn't 100% of kids or developing children have ear infections? But anyway, again, our bodies are designed perfectly, and the reason a kid has an ear infection is not because of the orientation of the ear tube, or the ear hole, as some people call it. So there are 2 types of ear infections, right? There's otitis media and otitis externa. Otitis media is an inner ear infection, and that's by far the most common. Otitis externa is also known as swimmer's ear, but we're going to focus on the most common one, okay? So, common versus no. Oh, there we go. That was the next slide. So there we go. You see him tugging at his ear. But of the most common, the internal, the middle ear infection, 80% of the time, it's viral in nature, right? I want that to sink in too, because if it's viral in nature, but the first thing we're doing is going to get an antibiotic, antibiotics fight off and kill bacteria. But if 80% of the time the ear infection is viral in nature, why are we doing antibiotics? Because 1, it's not going to do anything, and 2, quite frankly, it's actually just going to ruin the good bacteria that you have in you, that gut flora, that gut-brain connection. It's just going to wipe it all out and then therefore weaken and further put your immune system into more of an imbalance, right? So there are actually risks to antibiotics. And studies are even showing that more and more antibiotics increase the risk of lifelong asthma growing up and even allergies. 50% of ear infections don't even present with a fever, right? So you're not gonna always know, and there's common signs that we're actually gonna talk about in 1 second. Sorry, hope that doesn't make you dizzy. But what I can say, a good tip is, if you're going to go into the pediatrician office, get a culture done. Get a sample, get a culture, and find out if it's viral or bacterial. Because 80% of the time, again, it's going to be viral. And if you give an antibiotic, not only is it not going to help, it's not going to make you feel better, the kid feel better, it's not going to make the kid function better. In fact, it's just going to do a little bit more harm. And we don't want that. And also, one note here, I'm not saying any of this to shame you. My heart here is to give you information and to give you hope and then ultimately results. And that's what I want you to get. Because as a parent, you're already watching this, which means in my book, that's already a win. You're already a rock star for watching this because you're simply doing whatever you can to give your child and your family the best, most vibrant life possible by being as healthy as possible. I want that to be clear. So if there's any information that I talk about and that it tugs on a heartstring, makes you a little bit angry, or like, why did I make that decision? Like, I just decided to do antibiotics yesterday or tubes this morning, whatever. Don't be hard on yourself. You only did what you did with the information you had, right? Now, after today, you're going to have different information to be able to make a different decision if you so wish to, right? All right, back to the work. All right. So, most common signs. The first thing I wanted to talk about with here is that teething is actually misconceived as a common sign, but it just helps actually blend into why an ear infection might occur, because teething brings excess fluid into that ears, nose, and throat region, right? Other common signs, congestion. Now here, overall with ear infections, drainage is what we want. The whole goal is to drain more, right? Because fluid is there, we need it to drain, because the longer fluid sits there, the more likely it's going to have a chance to get infected. Gosh, that's the word. I should know that word by now, right? So, congestion. When things aren't draining, it sits there. It gets swollen. It gets the chance to get more infected. It's not draining. Fever. So, I want to hit on this too, because throughout today, we're going over the most common signs, and then we're also going to be going over a common sequence that happens with ear infections, and then we're going to be going over why chiropractic can not only help with drainage and ear infections, but how it can also help boost and balance the immune system. But with that, I want to ask you a question about fever. So most of the time, if you ask someone, "Hey, mom, dad, is a fever good or bad?" Automatically, they're gonna say bad, because that's what we were trained to think. Or they'll say good and kind of do it like this, because I'm asking them, which means they think it's a trick question. But let me phrase it this way. Before chiropractic school, before business, before we got extremely busy, my wife and I, when we were dating and even early marriage, we liked to go camping, even with friends and all that. And so when we would go camping, we never did forget water, but let's say we did. We forgot to bring a case of bottled water. So if we forgot water, what do we need to do? Well, we need to go down to the lake or a stream that we're probably camping by, get a big tub of water, but then what do we do to it? We boil it, right? And then when we boil it, why do we boil it? Are we boiling it just for fun to see bubbles? No, we're boiling it to kill the germs, kill the bacteria, kill any viruses that are in there, so it can purify it, so then we can drink it and not get sick, but in fact just nourish our bodies, right? So that boiling is a purification mechanism. It's a good thing. In your body, when you get a fever, that's a good thing. Think about that differently. And I know the first common thing people say is, but a fever could get too high. Yes, that's true. But even today, from, I don't know if it's the American Medical Association, but a highly renowned Association is saying the science is you don't have to worry until it's like at 106. That's very, very high. Of course, there's outliers, but that's not my point. Either way, your body has to get really, 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 really hot with a fever before you ever have to worry. Next time child gets a fever, let it run its course. See what happens. You're going to see that it actually helps. You're going to see that that internal heat is killing off that bacteria or virus that's in there and actually helping the body get rid of things. So it's actually a good thing. One of the other most common signs is obviously the pulling or tugging on the ears. Obviously, there's going to be inflammation and irritation where that buildup and drainage issue is, and it's going to hurt them. That's why I thought Brantley, my oldest, had the ear infection in the first place. So again, the whole goal here is to keep things moving. So this is the common sequence today, and I don't want to say, hey, if your child gets an ear infection, this is definitely going to happen. That's not what I'm saying at all, actually. But this is just what can happen, and what we've seen happens more often than not. So first, you get fluid in the ears, right? With congestion, with teething, whatever it is, fluid builds there. There's not drainage, and we're going to talk about what caused no drainage, but overall, this is, again, I'm just doing the sequence here. But when there's fluid buildup, then the bacteria, the virus, whatever, then comes in and makes its home in that area because it's more favorable to grow and reproduce there, right? Think of a swamp quick. Like, that was a big change of topics. I have coffee. A lot of you already know that I'm a very high, energetic, rambunctious guy, so if I have caffeine, it's even more so. But the only thing that means it's that much more fun. That was a side tangent. That also happens all the time in the office. That's okay. I promise those side tangents lead to more full context. But anyway, back to a swamp. So if you're walking outside, you think of a swamp, what do you think of? You think of, hey Molly, good to see you. You think of stagnant water, and then, at least when I do, I picture moss everywhere, algae, however people say it, and then maybe the smell in the air doesn't smell that well, and there's a lot of growth of things, right? And that's what's happening, right? If there's stagnant water, things that aren't necessarily supposed to be there are going to make its home there. Now think of a stream. It's moving, right? It's draining, so to speak. So there's not going to be all that icky stuff there. But anyway, with the fluid buildup, that's the first step. And then what happens if the antibiotics don't work? Let's say we get tubes in the ear. You then drain that infected fluid, we're going to call it that for now, infected fluid, right into the tonsils and adenoids. So it goes from here down to here, right? When that happens, and you can even read that there, but it's going to cause all that stuff, the tonsils, the adenoids, to start to swell up, to get infected themselves, right? And then a lot of times the doctor may say, okay, well, let's take those out because that's clearly what's causing your ear infections. That should be better. Well, then next time you get ear infection, right, it's going to go straight, now it's going to bypass the tonsils and adenoids, which are, it's part of your body for a reason. Think about that, right? Like, it's supposed to block things. So it was doing its job even though it got infected, right? Because we put tubes in the ears, which then put that infected fluid right onto it, which isn't the natural approach. When that happens, right, before they take it out, got a little ahead of myself, those start to swell up too. Could cause snoring, could cause sore throat. That happens time and time again. They're probably going to snip those out of there. And then that infected fluid goes straight into the lungs and is going to most likely cause things like bronchitis and asthma down the road. So again, I'm not saying that if your 2-year-old gets an ear infection, this is always going to happen. This is just what we see happen more often than not. Actually, in fact, when it comes to removing tonsils, I remember my 3rd grade class, the first person I ever heard of say that a doctor removed something from their body. I remember I was in 3rd grade, and I believe her name was Chelsea, and she got her tonsils removed. And then I remember throughout the course of that whole year, almost half the class got their tonsils removed too. And I thought, this is crazy. Like, doctors are just removing things from your body? I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know about surgery. I didn't know about anything like that. I was in 3rd grade. And so the craziest part was, and I swear this, if you would have followed them through 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, the high school, you'd see that they, especially the ones with tonsils removed, they were the ones that had pretty bad asthma or allergies or just chronic ear infections or sicknesses throughout the rest of their time because, well, they're at least in school when I saw them, not time as in life, obviously. But anyway, I wanted to throw that in there. So overall, this is the grand picture, and then now I want to go over what could be causing that. So first of all, even before an intense labor and delivery, there are certain things that happen in a certain sequence that lead to the common things that are happening today. Again, not normal, but common, like the sickness that is now becoming exponentially more potent, not potent, but there, it's just there. It's a lot more sickness, right? And so essentially, like, there's actually a lot of people that call it the perfect storm. There's this perfect sequence that happens, A plus B plus C plus D equals XYZ. And so even before an intense labor and delivery, there was probably a stressful pregnancy, right? So a stressful pregnancy could then lead to an intense or drawn out or hard or unexpected C-section or even a wanted C-section, and which makes delivery hard on the baby, right? And then, I mean, picture you're a baby here. Picture you don't have neck control over any of your muscles. You can't do anything with that. And you don't have bony, osseous structure, hard structure in your neck. It's all ligaments still because the bones haven't fully formed or anything like that. Sorry, this is hurting. And when that happens, now pretend you're getting pushed through, sorry, again, graphics, sorry for this, but like picture you're getting pushed through a tiny hole that is smaller than your body. That is going to cause micro trauma or major trauma on the spine and start the process of misalignments right there, right? No matter what, that's going to happen. Even if the delivery was natural, was a beautiful home birth or water birth, anything like that, most likely there's still going to be some type of issue with the upper cervical neck here. And if that's the case and misalignments start happening, there's going to be then nursing issues or side preferences, meaning the baby doesn't latch well on the left or the right. And that's going to show us exactly, at least as pediatric chiropractors, that there is some stuff and some misalignments and structural issues happening in the spine, which is leading to these ear infections, because here's why. If that stuff persists, if those misalignments persist, then it's going to lead to more tightness, torticollis, and cranial shape. So cranial shape, your skull is made up of craniobones. Cranial is another medical word for skull, or whatever, anatomical, or whatever you want to say. And so if you have all these misalignments and then you're only latching and breastfeeding on one side or always laying on one side of your head, a lot of stuff is going to start shifting up there, right? Though minimally, it's going to happen. And when that's happening, think of all the pressure that's putting on that growing and developing brain, causing even more stress right onto the brain itself, right? And then next we have gas pedal baby, which is a stressed, gassy, uncomfortable, colicky, tense baby. And so I want to hit on the term gas pedal baby here because most of people have heard of the term fight or flight before. So a gas pedal baby is a baby that's stuck in that fight or flight approach, right? On the inside of their body, it's just so tense because of these misalignments and all this stress on the brain and spine from the stressful pregnancy, the intense labor or delivery, or again, even if it was a beautiful home birth, that could still happen. Most likely it will. The nursing issues, anything. Formula fed, doesn't matter. But their body is stuck in that fight or flight mode when it needs to be on the other side, right? When it needs to be in a harmonious state of ease where the body can develop, right? Where it can grow, where it can change, and the body can handle the stresses coming at it. But instead, with this stuff happening, it's stuck in that fight or flight mode. It's like a chronic stress response, and then it's actually affecting a lot more than just the drainage, right? Overall, it's then affecting the immune system. And this is crazy, and I'm very glad I saw this, but there is new research. I saw it yesterday, so it might be a month or two old now. I'm not sure, but the new research is literally saying that they might have to rewrite a lot of the medical textbooks. Meaning that what these new crazy medical findings are showing is that the immune system is 100% dictated the balance and strength of the immune system is 100% dictated by the balance and strength of the nervous system, which is the brain, the spine, and all the nerves, which is what chiropractors focus on. So that's why, hence, you see a chiropractor talking about ear infections and immune system and why we can balance it from the inside out. But anyway, what they're finding is that when you have a body that's stuck in this fight or flight mode, the stress side of the nervous system, the immune system is going to be tanked. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's just, that's what happens. That's what the neurology says, the physiology says, the anatomy says, and now what soon will be all the medical textbooks say. So that's kind of cool. Chiropractors have been saying that for a while, but here's what it is. So, and then of course teething. So chiropractic care, and where that comes into place here, what we were talking about with, there's two sides of it. Sorry, hopefully that didn't make you sick again. There is the structural side of things, right, which is the misalignments, and alignment, which allows for more proper drainage. And then there's the neurological side of things, right? That's the two sides of the nervous system that's allowing for better internal body function and healing and performance and balance, and also strengthening and balancing the immune system. So that's why in chiropractic care we see this all the time, literally every single day, or any case that comes in, whether it be with ear infections or not. But we're going to continue to just talk about ear infections right now. But when you can align the spine, especially in the upper cervical spine, those misalignments were causing tight muscles, not allowing that fluid to drain. When you can align the upper cervical spine here, the neck, it drains. And it drains beautifully, right? And how the body was designed to make it happen, right? And then when you can balance the nervous system, that boosts the immune system. You can see right there, chiropractic adjustments boost the immune system by 200%. And I think there's also the second half of that study where that came from. It says in cancer patients, a chiropractic adjustment boosts the immune system by 400%. That's bonkers. That's beautiful. It's good to see. So in our office, how we find the misalignments are the classic way. We do an exam, stuff like that. We see how the neck is how flexible it is, stuff like that. But then to go a step deeper, to look into the neurology balance, to see if they're stuck in that fight or flight mode, because a lot of people may not have had the intense labor, the nursing issues, tightness, torticollis, right? A lot of people may not have colic or stuff like that, but they just keep on having reoccurring ear infections, right? Taking a look deeper, probably going to find that there is an imbalance of the nervous system, that there is hidden stress that is built up over time that needs to be released and unwound, right? So when we can do that, it balances the body from the inside out, it boosts the immune system, and it provides what you're actually looking for as a parent, which is lasting, long-term correction rather than temporary relief or no relief at all, right? And so down there, so get your kids checked. Like if you're simply wondering, like, hey, I almost spilled my coffee there. Yikes. That happens when I get animated. When I care what I talk about, I do crazy things and with my hands, and that happens. But if you're wondering if your kid has any stress on the spine, and if the body is stuck in the position of fight or flight, get your kid checked. We have neurological scanning technology that helps us pinpoint exactly what's going on the inside. It helps us find the irritation and the blockages that are happening so we can best determine how to help. Hope that makes sense. If there's any questions, please do ask. Please definitely ask. If there's any questions through all this, please put that in the comments. This is live. I promise you this is live. We will do our best to answer every single question that gets posted, even when this is done, because we are expecting this to not just be for people that are local, but for people from any state. So here are the scans. Perfect. Sorry, I forgot what I put in here. So this is an example of the scans, and this is what it pinpoints. It pinpoints where the blockages and irritations are. So on scan on the left there, you see the pre-scan, and that's where they found the irritation, the blockage, the interference, what was not allowing that drainage to happen. And then after probably, I think that one probably was a month, maybe a month and a half, maybe month or two, you can see that blockage, that irritation is no longer there, right? We do periodic scans like this to monitor results and monitor care, because why guess when it comes to health? When we can measure it, which we can do now, it makes things a lot easier to do, and it also brings more validation to the science and the neurology behind what we do. These scans show us what we as trained chiropractors already know is happening. Maybe not exactly where the irritations are, but we know if something chronic is happening, if people are coming in with these issues, somewhere along the neurology there are blockages and irritations, right? There's interference. And these scans now allow us to show the results to people coming in, to the parents saying, hey, we found this. Most likely, well, you're here already because you don't want more antibiotics. You don't want the tubes, and you haven't found that long-term correction. And that's what we want. And in order to get long-term correction, you need to balance the neurology rather than a simple short-term fix, right? It's the two sides of things. It's the alignment, which allows for the drainage, and then it's the balance of the nervous system, which then allows for that new healthy pattern to set in place for that lasting correction, to not fall backwards to where you were, to where you don't want to be again. No more ear infections. So this is Tucker's story. Tucker is that cute kid right there. Jess, that's the mom. Obviously me on that's the right, and then Dr. Chelsea on the left. But I actually want to read to you his story, and then this was taken a little bit ago. But anyway, I have the pleasure to take care and adjust the whole Tucker, his brother, mom, and dad weekly, and it's a beautiful family. They're phenomenal. But I want to read word for word what the mother, Jess, has wrote, because I couldn't say this better. Okay, so Tucker was almost 2 years old, and he's been suffering from a number of ear infections and repeated illnesses. He was never really fully healthy. Every 3 to 4 weeks, he would get sick. First of all, as a parent or as anyone that cares about kids, let that sit in. He was sick he got sick every 3 to 4 weeks. This tugs on my heartstrings even more, because that's very, very, very similar to how I grew up. I was very sick growing up, so already I knew exactly how this kiddo felt. He seemed fine during the day, but at night he would have a very tough time sleeping. There was a lot of coughing, gagging, nasal drip, and mucus. He was also spitting up a lot. As an infant, there was a lot of projectile vomiting and spit up. I was very concerned and very frustrated that he was sick. As a mother and the primary caregiver to the family, I felt like it was my responsibility to figure things out. The biggest frustration was when Tucker wasn't sleeping, I wasn't sleeping. We feel that. As parents, you definitely feel that. That's not fun at all. That was tremendously difficult. It had been 18 months of that. Oh my goodness. If I don't get enough sleep, it's not good for anybody. It's funny, but that's also true. We hear you. Initially, we went down to the conventional path. Everyone was telling me to do tubes in his ears, from the doctors to the strangers on the street. He would get this postnasal drainage, and it would take him in, and they would say he doesn't have an ear infection. Then he'd have a difficulty time sleeping, and then for the next 3 nights or so, it would get progressively worse. We would go in again, and then he'd have an ear infection. So everyone, again, was still telling her, get the tubes in the ears. However, I always thought that there was something leading up to the ear infection, something that was causing it. We needed to pinpoint that. This mom's brilliant. We needed to resolve the drainage and mucus, because that was leading to the ear infections. No one was really listening, though. We eventually did put tubes in his ears. Listen to this. Check this out. We eventually did put tubes in his ears, but even after that, right after it, he got another ear infection. That really sucks. That also ties to the two sides of the issue. There's the drainage, and even though the physical side of ear infection is the drainage, which you can put tubes in the ears and then it'll drain, but if you don't fix that underlying issue, the imbalance, the weakened immune system, you're just going to keep getting those ear infections anyway. So right after he got tubes, he got an ear infection again. As soon as we started coming to whole family chiropractic, Tucker hadn't had a single ear infection. This had been great, because all the rounds of antibiotics and even in the tubes, now we found what is actually helping. He still gets drainage, and sometimes when he's sick, but it's not ever like it was when it was before, or how it was before. We're doing a lot to help him, and obviously he's a lot healthier. Now I have a lot more comfort and reassurance that we're doing the right thing. This is what I talked about in the beginning. With answers what we talked about today, and hopefully seeing it from a new lens with hope that you can now make a more empowered healthcare decision, right? You can not just choose the conventional way like Jess was saying she did, but choose a route that you know is going to help because you have the right information, you have the hope, and now you just need to put the two together and make the decision and change things, get results, get those results that you so desperately want. I would recommend someone come to a whole family chiropractic because I don't want them to repeat my same mistakes. Because if I knew then what I know now, I would have done things completely differently. I feel like we've now been able to skip on a lot of rounds of antibiotics, probably 6 to 8, which is a lot in a small infant. 1 round is a lot in a small infant. I feel like whole family chiropractic is extremely involved in all of our health as a family as a whole, from Tucker's tubes to Mac's teeth, which is his brother, John's back, husband, to my own stress. Yes. Whether it's questions when we're getting adjustments or it's questions throughout email, we feel helped. We started coming here because of Tucker's ear infections, and now it's the whole family. I wanted to read that because I didn't want to get one word wrong, because I felt like every single sentence in there, coming from a mom who was doing the conventional things but now found something different because she found different answers, is able to produce so much different results in not just her kid's life, but her entire family's life, her whole family's life. And so if you are wondering, like, I wonder if my child has an alignment issue which isn't causing it to drain, or if, you know, it's just chronic, it keeps happening. I wonder if my child's body is stuck in that chronic stress state, that fight or flight state. You deserve the opportunity to get checked. So what that means, get checked, is, again, get these scans done. Find something that's going on. And if you want, oh, you can't see. Anyway, I'm back to the scan slide. I'm sorry. But if you think that's your child, something is deeper going on, and you want to do that, you deserve to find out if that's it. So in our office specifically, it's a 2-day process. And this is actually something I really want you guys to know because it's very helpful. The first visit, again, it's 2 visits. The first visit, you come in, we get to know each other, we talk about what's going on, we talk about your health goals, and then we do these very important scans, these neurological stress scans. It's a stress analysis, essentially. So when we do that, we have 3 scanning technologies. Depending upon how old the child is, they'll get 1, 2, or 3, and that's going to put together the picture of how your child's body is functioning on the inside out. Because in order to ever feel better, you have to function better first, because that's what's going to change overall how they feel for the long term and growing up and developing into the strong, smart boy or girl, man or woman, whatever you say. So we do that, we do the health consultation, we get to know each other, we do the scans, and then we don't do the first adjustment on this visit. We send you home, and during that time when you're away, the doctors take a look at the scan results, and then we pair it with your health history, and that's what puts together your recommended care plan. So on that second visit, that's when you sit down with one of the doctors, and we go over what we found. We go over everything. We go over all the scans. We take a deep dive into the scans, say, here's what we found, here's what's going on, here's what I think it's going to take to help, here's how long it might take, here's how much it might cost. We pair everything together, and before ever even getting the first adjustment, we make sure everyone is on the same page. Nothing is worse than not being on the same page as the person you're wanting to help you. Right? If you're facing that way, they're facing that way, it's just not good. But anyway, I want to mention another thing about collaborating and being with the National Family Wellness Alliance. So normally those first 2-day visits in our office, on any day, let's say you're just to Google us or call in, it's $150. But today, because we're doing this webinar, because you took time to listen, because you are the rock star you want to do and find new approaches, a more natural approach, a way that's going to have long-term results rather than temporary relief or none at all, we want to drop that to $67. Here's the cool part. We don't see a cent of that. Okay? Every dime of that, or cent, like I just said, goes back to the National Family Wellness Alliance. And what that goes to is pediatric research, so we can take information like this and share it with more families to give them more answers. Right? The National Family Wellness Alliance is a nonprofit organization fully dedicated to providing information and resources to pediatric and family health and wellness. That's it. And that's what we want to do. So if you want to see, again, here I'm going to go one more time, these scans, if you want to see if anything is going on in you or your child, give us a call. Or if you aren't local, if you're seeing this as a recording, someone sent it to you, wherever you may be, go to the, hold on, I have it in back somewhere, the National Family Wellness Alliance.org, the NFWA.org, and click the Find a Provider button. Right, you're gonna find a provider that does the same exact training, the same scans that we do, to get you the results that we know that is gonna help you for the long term. And so do that. I hope to see you soon. Again, comment any questions you do have. Greatly look forward to answering any questions. Hopefully seeing you in the office soon. And until then, I hope you have a great day. Thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to me. Yeah, can't wait to see you guys. Have a good one.